Hey everyone, we're talking Bitcoin, which is nearing $63,000 a coin today. I am Trish Regan. This is the Trish Regan Show. We are brought to you in part today by Immunity Armor Gold, one of the most advanced immunity boosting formulas you can get all in one product. Go to Immunity Armor Gold and use the promo code TRISH10 to get 10% off. ImmunityArmorGold.com, promo code TRISH10. And wow, $63,000 a coin is theoretically the next stop here for Bitcoin. Is it going to get there? What is the reason for the upside? We're going to dig into this. A lot of people keep saying to me, should I buy Bitcoin? Is it worth buying right now? And I say, gee, I really wish you had bought it when I'd been talking about it at $1,000 a coin. I wish you had bought it when I was talking about it on this podcast at $30,000 a coin. But should you buy it here? We're going to talk through it. I mean, there is a bullish case to be made for Bitcoin. There's also a case that may not even be as based on fundamentals, but based on the idea that you like this technology, you support this technology, and you want to be encouraging of this technology. A lot of investors I talk to that invest in Bitcoin have a sort of similar philosophy on the world that I have, and probably if you're watching this podcast you have, which is that you don't like all this money printing. And you're really concerned about the Federal Reserve's over interference in our markets, and you're concerned about what that means down the road. Because yeah, great, we're the world's reserve currency and we get certain privileges because of that, but what happens if you were to take that away? And what happens to our currency even without it being taken away if they continue on this path? I mean, they've printed more than $6 trillion just in the last year. So can this really continue? I don't think so. I don't think we want it to continue. I think you're seeing all the inflation in the economy as a result of the Fed's actions and a result of the federal government's actions, and that they want to keep handing out money. So all of this is going to have an inflationary effect. All of it is going to hurt the US dollar. So what if there was an alternative to the US dollar? You know, you hear me talk about gold a lot, and I love gold because I see it as that alternative. And I think gold's been challenged a little bit lately, just in the last couple of days, and that may continue a tad this week, only because everybody's excited about Bitcoin. And a lot of the same philosophies that govern investing in gold and investing in Bitcoin are quite similar. But I still like gold. I like gold because it's that tangible, real asset, right, that you can own, that you can hold, and that over time does help you to protect your money, your portfolio against inflation. It's not entirely clear yet whether Bitcoin may do that. I mean, in theory, it should, but there's a lot of unknowns. We're going to get back to those. But just quickly, I mean, as we watch the price of gold here, I do think you're going to be looking at $1,800 an ounce, possibly $2,000 over the course of the next year. And it's one of the reasons why when you see dips, you want to try and take those opportunities, in my view, because this is something that I consider a valuable part of my portfolio. 1-866-589-0560. These are the guys over at Legacy Precious Metals that I know very, very well. They've been in business more than 40 years. I encourage you to give them a call. You can use my name. Again, it's 1-866-589-0560. If you're watching, you see the number right there on the screen, legacypminvestments.com. But again, I think that what governs some of these gold investors and what governs some of these Bitcoin investors is that they share the commonality of their increasingly losing faith in our U.S. government. And look, I get it. I mean, we're sort of broken. I did a podcast the other day on this. The nation is broken. And I don't care what side of the political aisle you're on. You know, I'm right of center there. But when you look at how fractured we are, how fragmented we are, I don't see it getting any better. In fact, I only see this getting worse because you have, you know, one side, I mean, the left right now really trying to dictate what you can say, what you can think, seemingly how you can feel. Meanwhile, the right doesn't like that, understandably, especially those of us with a libertarian streak. We really don't like that. And so how does this settle out? I don't know. I mean, I do have my concerns. I think the other issue here is that many investors are lacking faith, if you would, in the United States government and its ability to really manage its currency, just given what has happened. Now, the Fed does say it's going to pull back in November on its bond buying program, and so I'm very hopeful for that. Let's see if we can get some kind of more normalcy in our markets right now. But it feels like, going back to the post-2008 days, and even pre that, I mean, you can go all the way back to 2000, the Fed has had a really, really big role in kind of helping to create these bubbles, and then they burst and they run in there to they're the cleanup crew after the fact, and so they're printing more money, and before you know it, there's some other bubble out there that could potentially burst. And so I think people want to get away from that idea, and that's why there's all this enthusiasm around a vehicle like Bitcoin. I spoke with one investor the other day who loves Bitcoin very much so, and his feeling is that this is a kind of insurance. It's an insurance against, we all hope bad things don't happen in the world, but it's an insurance against that. You look at where cryptos actually do really well and are used in transactional ways, and you find a lot of developing countries, emerging market countries, where they have a lot of problems with their currencies and they're printing way too much. And you look at Venezuela and the Bolivar, and the fact that people are using them and scattering them. It's like garbage, right? I mean, there was one story about how they were using it as toilet paper, which is, very saying something about, the lack of toilet paper in some of these places. But anyway, the Bolivar having absolutely no worth in Venezuela or in Afghanistan now, where there's no worth for the currency there, and you're going to see mass inflation, hyperinflation in a lot of these really, really challenged economies. And so that's where cryptos come in and play a larger role. Now, there are those that are worried about them. Bank of England, I talked about this on Friday. Bank of England came out with a warning basically saying this could be the next 2008, that these currencies are so lacking in regulation, and that is so dangerous for the marketplace. I've thought about it a lot since I reported the story on Friday. And one of the things I just wanted to mention to counter that is that, yes, it is an unregulated space, but I don't believe that a bunch of banks have been involved to the point where they're, packaging credit derivative instruments with a ton of Bitcoin inside of them, right? So that's not happening. I mean, that's really what threatened the system in 2008 was that these subprime mortgages were everywhere. They may have only been $1.3 trillion, of which the Bitcoin market now, or rather the crypto market, is like $2.3 trillion. 1.2 or 1.3 trillion in subprime mortgages, but they were everywhere. They had their tentacles into everything, and every single bank was holding them. That's not the case with Bitcoin. So I think that we need to take a little step back. I get that the Bank of England doesn't like it. I get that everybody wants to regulate this. Nobody really likes this idea of a currency outside the system. But I think it's important to give it some breathing room right now, because this could be a pretty tremendous technology that benefits the world in really massive ways. And so you want to give it that space and allow it to really flourish and grow. As for whether or not you buy it, look, you could side with the investor who says this is like insurance and put a small portion of your money, very small, into it. You could also say, look, I believe in this, in the spirit of it, right? Which I kind of always have, and that's why I'm continually attracted to it. You can buy, you don't have to buy a whole $60,000 coin. You can buy it for, if you want to put $100 in or $20 in. You can do that on Coinbase, and there's some other products as well. So there's ways to be in this space, and I encourage you to look at it, because I really do see this as part of the future. And it's one of those that, unlike other vehicles where you could say, okay, I know this, I trust this. You have to go in with eyes wide open and understand what it is that you're getting into. But, look, if you like the technology and you believe in the spirit, then it's kind of fun. And look, it could be next stop 63,000 on its way to 65,000. Of course, it could also go all the way back to 1,000. But that's part of the risk that you take. It's great to have you here. Just a reminder, please go to trishintel.com. Do sign up for my daily newsletter. You'll get this podcast delivered to you. You'll get all the stories that I'm watching and that we're tracking at trishintel.com, delivered to you daily. So I encourage you to do that. Also, go and download the full audio version of this podcast, if you would, for me on Apple iTunes and on Spotify. And I will see you right back here tomorrow. Good luck.